Fire City TV, naturally supernatural. Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station, right here on Fire City TV, naturally supernatural.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, you are with me, the voice of ability on the air for persons with disability, and today I want to introduce you to someone with so much ability. Some people call her the greatest friend, others call her the sweet companion, and others still call her the faithful worker. She is dependable, reliable, and adorable, and she's committed to lending you a helping hand anytime, anywhere. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome DV Cleaners.
DV Cleaners Alata Samuna Shower Gels, DV Cleaners Aloe Vera Shower Gels, DV Cleaners Body Lotions, DV Cleaners Hair Shampoos, DV Cleaners Hair Conditioners, DV Cleaners Liquid Detergents, DV Cleaners Hand Wash, DV Cleaners Floor Cleaners, DV Cleaners Toilet Cleaners, DV Cleaners Cake Soaps, and now introducing DV Cleaners Hand Sanitizers. For bulk purchase, call us on +233 278 308 246 or +233 244 467 326. DV Cleaners, one of the top most made in Ghana products. DV Cleaners, proudly Ghanaian.
And so remember that anytime you purchase any of the DV Cleaners range of products, you are lending a helping hand to a person with disability, and you are supporting H4P organization's special advocacy for persons with disability. DV Cleaners, nature's finest touch.
Mr. Chairman, how are you feeling today?
Mr. Chairman, please, do you have time for leisure?
Mr. Chairman, do you ever get discouraged?
Mr. Chairman, how were you able to achieve such greatness?
Mr. Chairman, please, what is your next project?
So, Mr. Chairman, please, what is your major secret in life?
A major secret in life is that to achieve something positive, you must believe something positive.
Wow.
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. I believe that this book, The Chosen Generation, will create a lot of positive energy in your life. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
The Chosen Generation, written by the Bishop, Dr. Charles C. Hackman. Purchase copies of The Chosen Generation from Amazon or call +233 550 507 077 or +233 20 197 9481. All sales are for the promotion of the special advocacy for persons with disability. Now available on Jumia, so grab your copies now. Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station, right here on Fire City TV, naturally supernatural.
Hello and welcome to Fire City Health Station with me, Efia Knedu. Life is precious and the opportunity to be alive must be treasured. Like Bishop Dr. Charles Hackman said, and I quote, "The greatest gift of life is life itself." It's great to be alive, it's great to have strength to go about your daily activities. But sadly, there are people who take away their own lives. Friday, 10 September 2021 is World Suicide Prevention Day. And today on the show, we are talking about suicide prevention and how amazing guests to discuss this topic. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station.
Welcome back to Fire City Health Station. Today we are talking about suicide prevention, and I have with me in the studios Miss Ifua Educhumwa, a senior nursing officer at Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and Dr. Mrs. Belinda Boache Ansa, a general practitioner with Life Healthcare Medical and Dental Center. Ladies, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
We are doing very well. And yourself?
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Thank God.
Okay, so we are talking about suicide. Why would somebody want to take their own lives? But first of all, let's find out what suicide is.
So I would define suicide as a premeditated act that an individual indulges in order to take away his own life. So he plans, thinks about it over and over again until he or she finds a conducive environment and all the things that he would need to commit the suicide.
So is every suicide like premeditated?
No suicide happens out of the blue. There's no suicide act that is spontaneous. Every suicide is premeditated. The person probably had planned it over years. Some, I dare say, would have planned it over 3 years, 2 years, over months before they decide to commit suicide. So that's how come we have what we call the suicide behavior, where somebody has, you would see the attitude, the person will put up an attitude that would make you realize that this person wants to kill himself, or this person is thinking about killing himself. He or she is preoccupied with death and death issues, so he thinks about it, talks about it, and even behaves in that way.
Why would people attempt suicide? Why would somebody want to kill themselves?
Thank you very much for the question. People attempt suicide because they are in pain. That is the underlying reason. People are in a lot of emotional pain. People are depressed. People are despairing. And so they want to end the pain. They want to end the suffering.
Not their lives.
Not their lives. They don't necessarily want to end their lives, but they want to end the pain and the suffering. So they think to end their lives would be the only option that they have to end their pain and their suffering. They don't. So people who commit suicide usually think, erroneously, I must say, but they think and they assume that they don't have any other option than to end their lives so that they can end it all, as they put it.
Okay. Who is at risk of suicide? What will make somebody want to kill themselves?
So there are certain risk factors.
Okay.
One of such risk factors are underlying mental health conditions, such as mood disorders.
Okay.
So an example of such a mood disorder would be depression, what we call as, feeling down. But depression is not necessarily just feeling down, like everybody feels down once in a while.
Okay.
But what we call clinical depression is characterized by certain things, feelings of hopelessness, feeling that there is no hope. There are feelings of worthlessness, feelings of guilt, feeling that their life doesn't amount to anything, feeling that nobody wants them, they are unloved, they are alone in the world. These are overwhelming things that the person cannot just snap out of. You cannot just advise the person to just, come out of it. People say snap out of it, just snap out of it. You can't just snap out of a depression. So mood disorders are one of the major risk factors. Another risk factor is if the person has attempted suicide previously.
Okay.
A person that has attempted suicide before is at a higher risk of succeeding than the subsequent times, and also a person with a family history of suicide, such as a very close family member, such as the mother, the father, the sibling, committed suicide, especially if the person was present to witness the act. The person is at a very high risk of thinking that suicide is an option or a way to go. The person has it imprinted in his or her mind that suicide is an option.
Okay, so with one of the first points you mentioned, that if somebody has attempted suicide before, there's a high probability that the person can attempt it again. Does it mean they don't get help after they attempt suicide and they don't succeed?
Usually, they would have gotten help because then the fact that they attempted and did not succeed probably meant that they had an intervention.
Yes.
So there are people that come to the hospital with suicide issues and they get treatment, they are treated with medication, psychotherapy, they see the clinical psychologist and they are taken through what we call the talk therapy. and they are spoken to in a way that will help them calm down and understand their situation. So then it is assumed that this person is okay.
Yes.
And has come to terms with life issues.
Yes.
But then these are people, like my colleague said, because there's a history, there's a tendency that if a person goes back and the precipitating factors, the things that made the person want to commit suicide are still existing, then there's a tendency of the person to attempt the suicide again. For example, if, let's say, the person who tried to commit suicide was as a result of an abusive home, probably being abused by the father or the mother or the uncle. If such a person tried to commit suicide and there was an intervention, he or she goes back to that abusive environment that precipitated the act of suicide. That if that is not solved, the person goes back into that same environment, then there's a tendency of the person committing suicide again.
So it means that when the help is being given to them, all these factors must be taken into consideration.
Exactly. So whoever, like I said, the issue of the family therapy. So if the person is going to receive help, we need to find the underlying cause. Why did the person decide to commit suicide? Was it because the person lost his job, failed an exam? Was it because the person was being abused at home? Was it because the person went through rape? I mean, I had one patient that the husband cheated on her. So she thought, okay, I'm not loved. For probably she saw the husband as everything to her. And so if I'm seeing you as everything, like literally like my life, and then I come and I see you bonding with another person, the thing that you do with me that I think that it's just me and I'm the only person in your life, and I come and I see some, it's heartbreaking. So if that person that person decides to take his life and there's an intervention and he or she goes back and sees the husband does not change the character, there's a likelihood that that person will commit suicide, will attempt to commit suicide again. So then it means that during the treatment and the therapy, the husband must be primarily and necessarily involved in the therapy.
So that we can have a permanent solution.
Exactly. Talk to the husband, involve the husband in the after talking to the person. You need to involve the husband in the therapy, in the family, which we call family therapy, so that we would all come to an understanding and a consensus, and the commitment will be made in order not to repeat what precipitated the action.
We're talking about mental health and as it relates to suicide. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station. We'll be right back.
I'm strong and I'm chosen.
I am not afraid and I'm chosen. I am not neglected. I am chosen. I'm not alone. I'm chosen.
I'm intelligent and I'm chosen.
I am beautiful and I am chosen.
I am anointed and I am chosen.
I am strong and I am chosen.
The Chosen Generation, written by the Bishop, Dr. Charles C. Hackman. Purchase copies of The Chosen Generation from Amazon or call +233 550 507 077 or +233 20 197 9481. Purchase copies of The Chosen Generation and support the H4P organization's special advocacy for persons with disability. Grab your copies now.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, you are with me, the voice of ability on air for persons with disability, and today I want to introduce you to someone with so much ability. Some people call her the greatest friend, others call her the sweet companion, and others still call her the faithful worker. She is dependable, reliable, and adorable, and she's committed to lending you a helping hand anytime, anywhere. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome DV Cleaners.
DV Cleaners Alata Samana Shower Gels, DV Cleaners Aloe Vera Shower Gels, DV Cleaners Body Lotions, DV Cleaners hair shampoos, DV Cleaners hair conditioners, DV Cleaners liquid detergents, DV Cleaners hand wash, DV Cleaners floor cleaners, DV Cleaners toilet cleaners, DV Cleaners cake soaps, and now introducing DV Cleaners hand sanitizers. For bulk purchase, call us on +233 278 308 246 or +233 244 467 326. DV Cleaners, one of the top most made in Ghana products. DV Cleaners, proudly Ghanaian.
And so remember that anytime you purchase any of the DV Cleaners range of products, you are lending a helping hand to a person with disability, and you are supporting H4P organization's special advocacy for persons with disability. DV Cleaners!
Nature's finest touch!
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station. Welcome back.
Welcome back to Fire City Health Station. It's World Suicide Prevention Day, and we are talking suicide prevention. So what is mental health and how does it relate to suicide? Doctor.
So mental health basically is a state of well-being whereby a person is conscious and aware of his or her own capabilities as a person, his or her strengths, his or her weaknesses, and the person is also able to make a meaningful contribution to the society. Also, mental health has to do with being able to adapt to the stresses, to the normal stresses of everyday life. The changing scenes of life, the challenges, the ups, the downs. Being able to adapt to these things that we go through in life is also part of mental health. Now, how it relates to suicide. Now, for a person to get to a point where he or she feels he cannot go on anymore or cannot handle whatever life is presenting to him or her, it means that the person's mental health is compromised. Yeah. So mental health is very important because for a person to be able to adapt and easily take on life as with all its challenges, with all its setbacks and everything, the person should be in a good mental position to be able to do that. So when there's a breakdown of mental health, then we have a shaking of the structure, the mental structure. The person doesn't have the confidence in his or her own abilities, doesn't feel like he is worth anything to society. The person doesn't feel like he or she has the ability and the capability to take on whatever life is presenting to him or her. So that is.
Mr. Fedichumwa, you work at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Is it obvious to see that somebody's mental health is compromised? Is it something that you can tell?
Asking a professional like me, I would say that it's obvious. But for the lay person, and I mean normal day life, it might not be too obvious for a normal family environment or church environment or school environment. So if I meet you and I communicate with you for like 30 minutes, I probably will know whether you're mentally healthy or not. Having a challenge or not. So, but then somebody who does not have much knowledge about mental health might not be able to tell that this person has a mental problem or not. So it is not like an ABCD straightforward something.
Are there some tips you can give us?
So then
if things are not so okay with our family, our friends, our colleagues, when it comes to their mental health?
So with mental health, like my colleague defined, it's a person's ability to adapt to life situations. Your ability to relate with everyday life situations. So like I get to work in the morning and there's a lot of work for me to do and I'm behind time. How am I going to deal with that stress that I'm presented with that morning? Probably that day I was even late to work. So I'm actually behind time. So like a banker, you get to the workplace, you have a lot of work to do, and then there's a long queue of clients waiting for you. There's this probability of if you're not careful, you're going to shout on your client if, let's say, he's supposed to put up a certain attitude or action that you're expecting him to, and he does not do that. Or you're a boss at your workplace, you're CEO, you get to your workplace, and then certain things are supposed to be done, and they've not been done in the way that it's supposed to be. There's a tendency of shouting or bursting out and screaming at the people. So this situation, you might see it as a normal reaction, but somebody who is mentally healthy would calm down, consider the pros and cons of his or her action. Okay, so if I shout, would it solve the problem? What would the results be? If I scream, will I get the result? If I calm down and I think through the situation, what would the results be? So somebody who is mentally healthy would wait, calm down, and see the possibility. The weigh the pros and cons of the situation before he takes on an action. You get it? But if you just swish out, like my colleagues, you just snap, and then you start insulting people, talking to people anyhow, obviously you're not mentally healthy. Okay. That's a problem with you. So you don't have the ability to deal with stress. You're angry at the least provocation, you're angry. We say that people say, oh, this person is quick-tempered. This person has temper issues. That person is not mentally healthy. That person is dealing with something. So your inability to relate with people beautifully on a normal day-to-day life, there's a problem with you mentally.
I would also like to add something to what my colleague has just said. When it relates to something like as severe as suicide. Okay. Like she said, sometimes you see someone and like, oh, the person is just quick-tempered, or maybe this person is so emotional, or that kind of thing. People have different ways of coping with the stresses of everyday life. Some are healthy and some are not healthy ways. So for example, you see a child who has possibly changed schools, a new environment, new friends, new teachers, new everything, and how this child is able to cope, or this child or this teen is able to cope with the new environment is critical to his or her future mental health. If care is not taken and the person doesn't go through the transition smoothly or successfully, the person may be scarred for life in terms of the fact that the person may be maladapted or be not be able to adjust to other changes in the future. So it is important, I think, especially as parents and people in authority, to be very watchful or even friends or even our colleagues, when we notice that somebody is going through a major life change. We should be concerned. We should show empathy. We should show concern. Invite the person to talk about what the person is feeling. How is the person handling the change? How is the person coping with the new state of affairs? Because you never know what anybody is going through. You never know how the person is reacting to that major life change.
Why World Suicide Prevention Day?
World Suicide Prevention Day started in 2003, actually. And it was an initiative by the World Health Organization in conjunction with other mental health institutions to create awareness for suicide and how to prevent suicide. So this year, the theme is creating hope through action. That's the theme for 2021. And this is to promote a commitment among all the nations of the world to preventing suicide.
So like she said, it's to promote commitment, because we all need to make a serious commitment by taking proper action so that we can give hope to those who are in need of help.
What's the rate at which suicide is killing people all over the world?
Compared to maybe something like road traffic accidents or something, maybe it may not be high. But for a person taking his or her own life, even one is one too many. Because for a person to reach that breaking point whereby he or she thinks he wants out of life, then it is very should I say, it's a very serious issue that I think we should consider. According to global statistics, over 800,000 people a year take their own lives. And this is those who are successful. For every successful suicide that is committed, there are several and countless others that people who have attempted suicide but were not successful.
Okay, so it means there's a larger number of people who are contemplating suicide.
Who are contemplating suicide, who are suicidal, what we call suicidal, meaning you are contemplating suicide, you're having suicidal thoughts and ideas. You know, so the number is, and even the 800,000 people are even the reported cases, because because even in 2021 in certain countries including Ghana, suicide is criminalized. So when a person attempts suicide and is unsuccessful, most people will try to hush it up. Most people will try to,
and the family will not report
it. Family will not report it. They would be reluctant to seek help because it is criminalized, and they are afraid that the person may be, you know, arrested or something. So talks and conversations are still going on, trying to decriminalize suicide in Ghana, because it deters people from seeking help. And it doesn't do well for the statistics. If we want suicide to go down, we should rather decriminalize suicide so that people would be more open and feel more comfortable seeking help when they have these suicidal ideations and thoughts, and people are contemplating suicide. They should be rather free to talk about it instead of being hushed up or silenced.
Okay, so suicide is a psychiatric emergency.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an emergency. The moment you hear somebody talk about wanting to kill themselves, that is, if we are privileged. I call it a privilege because most, like my colleague said, most people don't talk about it. And when it happens to people, hush it up. They want to cover it up. Their families don't want people to know. Society tends to stigmatize those families. Like, hey, this family, somebody tried to kill himself. Even if somebody has an intention of getting married in that family,
they will not.
They will not. Yes. So obviously they will cover it up and they will not let it come out. But suicide is a psychiatric emergency. It's a problem, because for you to have the confidence to want to take your own life, that's even one, like my colleague said, even if it's like one person, one occasion, it's a very serious situation. So it's something that must be critically looked at, because I noticed for the past few months, we've had more suicidal cases coming in at the hospital. These are people that have not been successful. It means that there has been an intervention. Somebody has been able to find out, find them. They tried, hanging themselves. We had situations where the person tried hanging himself. Somebody tried taking a poisonous substance and all that. And these are situations that have been interventions.
These
and
are
the numbers
ones that do not succeed.
Yes. And the numbers keep going up every time. We keep going up. Okay. So this is a big problem for the nation, and it needs a certain level of attention, like the way you would attend to somebody who is losing breath, as the same way that you would hurry up and perform a CPR. Exactly. That is the same way we should relate with suicidal ideations.
Yes, please. Yeah. Thank you so much. So when we come back, we're going on a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some misconceptions people have about suicide. You're still with us on FCC Health Station. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station. Welcome back.
Welcome back to Fire City Health Station. Today we are talking about suicide prevention. We'll be talking about some misconceptions people have when it comes to suicide. But before then, doctor, can you tell us about the statistics when it comes to Ghana?
In Ghana, as at 2019, the average number of people committing suicide per year was 7 people out of every 100,000.
Okay.
So 7 people per 100,000. So and we have more males being successful in their suicide attempts than females, although more females attempt suicide. So what? Okay, how? This is how I can break it down. So so more men are dying from suicide than females.
Okay.
According to the statistics. Okay. However, we know through studies that more women are attempting suicide, but they are not as successful as when men attempt suicide. Because when men attempt suicide, they use very lethal means and very drastic measures.
Okay.
So they are more successful in their suicide attempts than females. That the more drastic means such as the use of firearms, like using of guns, jumping from very tall buildings. But for women, they go along the route of taking overdose of drugs, or maybe taking poison, or those kind of things. And those kind of means are slower acting, and there can be an intervention before the person actually succumbs to the...
So they really don't want to end their lives.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning, people who commit suicide really don't want to end their lives. They want to end their pain and their suffering.
Okay. So, Ms. Efeduchumwa, I wanted to find out, so there are people who are not successful when it comes to committing suicide. And like she said, a lot of women try it, but then they don't succeed. So what are some of the things those you talk to at the hospital? What are some of the reasons why they decide to commit suicide?
Like loss of job, unemployment, or poor job satisfaction, or the person has been newly diagnosed of an illness, a terminal illness like cancer, HIV, hepatitis B, and all that. When you're diagnosed of such diseases, you know that you're going to live with it for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Okay, so it becomes a painful thing, a painful process for you to, you get into a denial stage, and you're wondering, because these terminal illnesses are financially draining.
Yes.
So if you are also in a position where you're not financially strong, then it's going to really take a serious toll on you. People who are exposed to abuse all the time, they see their parents, their fathers abusing their mothers, their child is exposed to the stepfather abusing the stepchild, and all that. People who are constantly exposed to abuse. Child trauma could be that people who are psychologically unstable, your teacher is always at you, you're not intelligent, as for you're not succeeding. There are some teachers who talk to their students in that manner. These things can increase somebody's attitude of committing suicide. The suicidal behaviors, it can make somebody develop a suicidal behavior. So then, in situations like this, these people need to be talked to. They need to be spoken to. They need to be taken through a lot of talk therapy, what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. They need to be taken through a lot of these psychotherapies in order to help them become stable and come to terms with whatever they are going through. So if, for instance, a person who has been diagnosed with HIV and does not have family support, thinking of the family does not know yet that, and he or she is afraid to let the family
about it.
So you do a family therapy for these people, where you involve the family, explain the process to the family, explain the disease process to the family, and let them know that there's hope, so that the person can get family support. Otherwise, if we leave such persons to just be amongst us and just go back home, obviously the person would have begin to develop suicidal behaviors, and before long the act has taken place.
Okay, so in this instance, if somebody has terminal illness and the person goes to work, like earlier on when you were talking about how suicide and mental health relate.
Exactly.
So I come to work and I'm screaming on people. So such a person may have suicidal thoughts. But is it general that anybody that screams on people at work, I'm angry with everybody at all times, will necessarily want to commit suicide?
No, not exactly. So there are those that come to work as a result of maybe stress from home, or stress from the wife, stress from children, stress from daily life activity, maybe even just normal traffic can't stress somebody. Okay, so then that could be when these things are happening, it's not a guarantee that such a person will commit suicide, but then it's also it's rather a guarantee that that person is not psychologically stable at that time. Yes, therefore the mental health is compromised. You get it? So then that's how come I said that you would have to then calm down, take a breather, you know, and calm down and assess the pros and cons of your actions and see how this action you're going to take would affect the other person, so that after thinking through the process, by the time you finish thinking through the process, you might have calmed down and then realize that no, I don't need to scream. I can actually take it calm. I don't need to scream at this person. Okay. So then it's not a guarantee that when somebody comes to work and she's screaming at people and shouting, that person has suicidal ideations or the person has a tendency of committing suicide, but rather it's an indication that that person at that moment is not psychologically stable. Therefore, he or she's mental health is compromised.
Okay, doctor.
I would also like to add something. When we talk about mental health, it is not a black and white kind of thing. It is a spectrum. Mental health is a spectrum, and every single one of us is somewhere on the spectrum. But the misconception about mental health comes up because of the word mental. I heard somewhere that usually when people hear the word mental, it's like they start thinking of, the psychiatric hospital and everything. So, the thing is that mental health is simply the state of your mind, the well-being of your mind and the way you perceive yourself and perceive the world. So that is basically, in a layman's term, how we can describe mental health. So mental health is, like I said, a spectrum. And we are all somewhere on the spectrum. Some people are more mentally healthy than others. Some people cope with stresses better than others. And some people cope with certain stresses better than others.
Exactly.
So, for example, a person who was able to overcome the fact that he lost both his parents, was able to adjust to that change, go to school, go through school, go through the rigorous activities of examinations and quizzes and everything, go through all that, come out successful. And yet, when it comes to maybe a relationship, a breakdown of a relationship, the person is not able to handle that. So we are each and every one of us and what we can handle, and also the interpretation we give to the things that we are going through. So, for example, two people, one person may go through a breakup and be fine. Be fine in the sense that the person is able to overcome that, the person is able to move on in life. Another person may not be able to move on. And it's all dependent on the interpretation that these two people are given to the same thing that they're going through. So one person's interpretation may be that, okay, so because this relationship didn't work, it means I'm unlovable, it means I'm nothing, I'm not desirable, nobody wants me. And and all this line of thinking is not healthy. It's not a healthy line of thinking. So if the person is prone to think this kind of way, it will determine that the person is not mentally healthy, and the person is going down a road which can lead to suicidal ideations and suicidal behavior. So each and every one of us are somewhere on the spectrum. It doesn't mean that if you are quick-tempered or something means you are prone to suicide per se, but you are not dealing with the issues of life in a healthy way.
Thank you so much. So now to the misconceptions when it comes to suicide. I think you've spoken about some of them. Yeah. But then can you tell us generally what are some other misconceptions?
Okay, so one other misconception about suicide is that everyone that attempts suicide or who commits suicide has a mental health disorder.
Okay.
And that is an erroneous conception.
Yeah.
Because not everyone that commits suicide has an underlying mental health disorder. Although mental health disorders do predispose you to suicide. Okay. Because already your mental health is compromised at a clinical level.
Yeah.
Not necessarily social or your upbringing, but at a clinical level. Yeah. There are certain chemicals, I don't want to go too deep into that, yes, but there are certain chemicals in the brain that are responsible for the way we feel. Okay. And if you as a person have a clinical condition whereby these chemicals are not being produced in the right balance, then you are prone to feel hopelessness and despair. Such a person is more likely to fall prey to hopelessness and despair because of that chemical imbalance. For example, in the case of people with clinical depression, people with bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
There are some of these chemicals that are imbalanced, and so it puts the person at risk of feeling hopeless easily, more easily than a person without the mental health disorder. Now, that being said, the common denominator of all people who commit suicide or who attempt suicide are that they are going through something in their lives that they cannot deal with at that moment. And so that is not to say that if you attempt suicide, so that stigma I think that stigma should be taken off, whereby if somebody attempts suicide, it means that the person has a mental health disorder. The person doesn't have a mental health disorder, just that at that point in time the person's mental health is compromised. The person is going through something, the person is in pain, needs a solution, needs a way out. And so so it is not up to, so we as a society, especially as Ghanaians, we need to dispel that myth that people who commit suicide are mentally unstable or not have a mental health disorder. So that is one of the misconceptions. Another misconception is that people who talk about if you talk to somebody about his or her suicidal ideations or suicidal tendencies, it will rather push the person to rather commit suicide. People think that if somebody opens up to you about wanting to commit suicide and you engage the person, you are rather helping the person and you are rather putting ideas into the person's mind to commit suicide. But that's not true. But that is not true. Rather, on the contrary, talking about how a person feels, talking about suicidal thoughts and suicidal feelings, rather make it more likely that the person will not commit suicide, because the person
this situation is like a problem shared.
Yes, a problem shared is half solved.
In this instance,
yes. So a problem shared is half solved. So in this particular instance, when you see somebody who is withdrawn, showing the signs of suicide, like being withdrawn, being antisocial, somebody who was outgoing, somebody who was a social person, the social butterfly, going from one place to the other, talking and interacting with people, all of a sudden the person is withdrawn, the person is no longer him or herself as you know the person to be. The person is withdrawn. You should talk to the person, and it is not inappropriate to straight on ask a person that, do you sometimes think of that you can't handle it and you can't take it anymore, you want to end it? There's nothing wrong with asking that question when you are convinced that a person might be having thoughts of committing suicide. Because asking such a question actually communicates to the person that you care and you are empathizing with the person. So the person feels like he or she is not alone, because that is the major thing about persons who contemplate suicide. They think that they are all alone in the world and nobody cares.
Okay, thank you so much. You are still with us on FCC Health Station. We are going on a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station. We'll be right back.
The equation for success has a lot of variables, and great leadership is a combination of great habits. Great leaders are great readers, so I make it a point to read great materials every day. The Chosen Generation is a must-read book if you believe in your greatness.
Purchase copies of The Chosen Generation from Amazon or call +233 550 507 077 or +233 20 197 9481. Purchase copies of The Chosen Generation and support the H4P organization's special advocacy for persons with disability. Grab your copies now. Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station. Welcome back.
Welcome back to Fire City Health Station. Today is World Suicide Prevention Day, and we are talking about suicide prevention. Before we went on the break, we were talking about some misconceptions people have about suicide. So, Ms. Ifedichumwa, can you tell us about some of the misconceptions, especially from the people you attend to at the hospital?
Okay, so some of the misconceptions they have is the fact that they think that suicide will solve the problem. The intention is not to end their lives, but actually they want to end the pain they are going through, the suffering they are going through. So they think that if they commit suicide, possibly it would end everything. I mean, the pain they are going through. I mean, they are dead. I mean, a dead goods. I mean, there's no pain. You see. So then they think that once they are dead, I mean, nothing. Everything is over. No pain, and that's it. Refusing to think about the people that will suffer because they have left the system. Probably they had a child. Exactly. Probably had a child that was depending on them. They had someone who was looking up to them as a role model and all that. They refuse to think about all these things, and they just want to end their, they just want to end the pain they are going through without thinking about the other people that would suffer. So then killing yourself does not end the suffering. You're actually creating another suffering for other people. Yes. And then the other misconception too is that when we see that somebody has everything going on well for them.
Okay.
Oh, you see this person, oh, the married life is good. Children, fine. Pretty kids, going to, good schools. And then, like we say, out of the blue, oh, we don't know what's happening to this person, or all we heard was that the person has committed suicide. That's people like that seem to have everything going well for them. We should take a critical look at those people again.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you mean?
Okay, so people in rare situations, they want to leave a legacy. So they tend to do a lot of things. They tend to get things right. Okay, so they prepare their will. If they have some businesses, they want to put things in the business right.
But they are thinking about ending
because they are thinking about ending their lives. That's why they begin to put things right.
How will you ever know that somebody like that?
Exactly. So then, when people start putting things right, they start asking questions about how to get this done. How do I get this done? How do I see this person? I need a lawyer to talk about this, to set this thing for me. And they want to put everything in their businesses right. Okay. They start even training people to take over.
Oh, wow. That's serious.
Yes. Before long, just give him a few months, that person might commit suicide. So when you think that this person has everything going on for them, that's a misconception that a lot of people have, that such people they have everything is okay.
So
commit suicide.
But it's not everybody who does that is contemplating suicide.
Exactly.
So,
but then we should take, like I said, a second look at people like that.
Because it's possible
that the reason behind trying to put everything in order is because they are contemplating suicide. And then the misconception that once a person has attempted suicide and there has been an intervention, that person, the likelihood that the person will commit suicide is low. No. In fact, those people rather we should really have our eyes on them, because there's a higher tendency, I dare say 90% of the time, the possibility of committing suicide, because he tried using DDT the first time and he was caught. Or there was an intervention. The process was slow. The next time you go and get a gun, because this time, by the time he shoots himself, I mean, like, you can't intervene. Okay. Yes. So people who have committed suicide before and there has been an intervention, they said are at a higher risk of committing suicide. Again, so that's a warning sign. Once somebody has attempted to commit suicide before, it's a warning sign, and that person is at a higher risk. So it's a big misconception that, oh, the person has gone through treatment, the person has gone through therapy, and the person is fine. No. Such a person, yeah, especially if the precipitating problem or the predisposing factor is still there.
Okay. Yeah. So, doctor, you spoke about one of the things that make people exposed or want to commit suicide as being chemicals in their body. I wanted to ask, are there medications to help the person? Because in such a situation, the person doesn't have any control over it. It's my biological makeup. So is there a medication for such people to help them? So can you talk to us about that?
Fortunately for us, there are medications to counteract these mental health disorders that are characterized by chemical imbalances in the brain.
Okay.
So now the problem is identifying people who have these disorders.
Okay.
Now, because in this part of the world, mental health is a topic which people don't want to talk about, it is very, very difficult to identify people who need these medications. Somebody can have depression, and all it takes is a prescription drug to put the person at a balanced level whereby the person can live a normal and a productive life.
And that is the solution.
That's the solution for the person. So this issue of hashing up mental health issues and not talking about how we feel because, for example, because in our culture in Ghana, it is not so welcome to talking about how you feel, talking about your problems, because it's like it is deemed that you are not pulling your weight. Because of this kind of conception that we have as a people, culturally, people are not too forward, or people are not too encouraged to talk about how they are feeling, to talk about how they are not unable to cope.
So they'll just keep quiet and go ahead and kill themselves.
Just keep quiet about it,
okay,
and then go ahead and kill themselves. Meanwhile, there is help for them.
Okay, it's great that there's help for them. I want to find out if somebody talks to me or to you or to anybody that they want to commit suicide, or I notice certain characteristics in someone. The person is withdrawn, like you were saying, a very happy person becomes withdrawn, or I see some of the things you've spoken about. How do I help the person?
When you're fortunate to have a person come to you and confide in you that he or she is having suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideas, you should first
Why
of all...
Why do you say when you're fortunate?
Well, I say fortunate because for most people, they would not talk about it. They would internalize everything that they are feeling, take the decision, and then just act on it.
Okay.
They would not confide in anyone. They will just maybe say it here and there in certain comments, but they will not outrightly or overtly make the declaration that I am having this thought of taking my own life, or something along those lines. So,
and I get you.
Yeah, so when you're fortunate enough to have someone come confide in you that he or she is having suicidal thoughts and ideations, first of all, the first thing you should do is to hear the person out. You should take what the person is saying very seriously, but you shouldn't overreact. What you need to do is to empathize. Give the person your ear. Listen to the person. In a non-judgmental way. That is not the time to start preaching to the person about the value of life and how the person is fortunate or is even in a better position than other people. And so the person, don't try to downplay what the person...
What you are saying, I'm hearing it as an encouragement. The person will try to encourage the person. So that is a wrong approach.
Yes. Well, Encouragement in what you see, we have different types of encouragement. You may think you are encouraging the person, but what you are actually doing is the method with which you are encouraging the person
is wrong.
Yeah, some may want to tell the person all the things that are going well for the person and why they don't think the person should commit suicide, but that is not the time. When the person confides in you, that is not the time to do that. Okay. You should listen to what the person and empathize. You see, it's about, like I said, I will keep repeating it, that the person does not want to end their life. It is the pain that the person is going through. So you would want to empathize with the person and listen to why the person is saying that he or she feels he wants to end his or her life. Okay. So that you listen to the person and find out the underlying cause. What is the real cause? Okay. Is it that the person is in pain? The person feels life is not worth living anymore. Why does the person feel life is not worth living anymore? So you're listening to the person. So maybe you are not a professional, yes, but you are the first point of call. So the first step is to listen to the person, empathize with the person, try to validate what the person is feeling. Okay. Validate the person. Tell the person that the person is you are with the person. The person is not alone. You are here to help. You know, saying things like that make the person know that he or she is not alone, and he can trust you. Okay. He can trust you to confide, and the person is not being condemned. Okay. Exactly. Because it is for fear of condemnation, especially if the person is of the religious type or from a faith that condemns suicide. I think all faiths do condemn suicide. But if the person, especially if the person is seen as somebody who is a leader in a church, for example, or a person who is a pillar of faith in the community, you know, the person would find it very difficult to admit that the person's faith is not helping the person, and that he or she, in spite of his or her faith, is still contemplating suicide and still feeling that he or she cannot cope with life.
You see, mental health, it's I guess it's a great area. Okay. It's in recent times that we are trying to create awareness over and over again, to the extent that we celebrate Mental Health Week, Mental Health Day and all that, just to create the awareness for people to get interested in patronizing mental health.
And now suicide prevention.
Yes. So to talk about things like that, it doesn't come easy. Especially in an African society, you'll be shut up. And like my colleague said, if you're the male figure, it will be very difficult to even come up to say that, oh, I'm struggling with this, I need help. I can't make ends meet. I can't pay my children's school fees. It's weighing me down. My wife is frustrating me. I'm going through this, I'm that. If you are a male and you keep coming out like that, people will begin to, you can't complaining. You know, like in our local parlance, as we say, that kind of thing. So then you are forced to eternalize everything, which if care is not taken, you would end up taking your own life. So suicide, like I said, it's a psychiatric emergency. People must be given the opportunity to talk about it. Okay. People must be given the opportunity to be free to talk about the fact that they are struggling, they need help, and ask for help, because there is help available. But then in our society, people are not given the opportunity to talk about, because of the stigma attached to suicide, the stigma attached to mental illness and all that. Because once you attempt committing suicide, they tag you with mental illness. Yeah. But like my colleague said, most of the time, people who even commit suicide might not have been diagnosed of any form of mental illness, but then they commit suicide. So we need to help people to talk about mental illness, to talk about suicide, so that we can help them. So when you see such warning signs, you need to get close to the person, don't judge people like that. Allow them to talk about it. Allow them to express their fears, their anxieties. Give them the room to say all they have to do. If they have to cry, let them cry. If they have to scream and shout, let them do it. Just to get it off their chest. Because if you shut them up, you are actually leading that person to his or her grave. So you shouldn't be judgmental. You should get close to that person. Show that person love. Let the person know that you are there. Bring in other family people that you know can help. Go extra miles. We want to help the person in that situation. You know, like for example, people who go through abuse from their parents, especially if, let's say, there's a woman who is divorced and is remarried to another man and has taken another child who is a female, unfortunately, to that home, and the husband of that woman is abusing the child, and after abusing the child sexually, will tell the child that if you talk about it, I would kill you. The child will be quiet about a situation like that. Children, I've had a situation where the child had attempted telling the mother that, oh, this is what your husband is doing to me. And it's like, oh, you're attention seeker. You like attention, you're lying. The mother didn't believe it because he or she thinks...
They didn't want to believe it.
Exactly. He or she, the woman thinks that the child is actually being jealous and trying to break up her marriage. You get it? That she's had the opportunity to get remarried, though she has a child somewhere. Somebody kind of has been sympathetic enough to take her on and take care of her and all that. She shouldn't come and break her home. So they intend neglecting this child and she's all alone.
So this is somebody, a mother who was fortunate enough to have the daughter talk to her.
Exactly.
But she didn't listen.
She didn't listen. She thought that the child was being an attention seeker or attention. You like it.
And the child ended up attempting suicide.
The child ended up attempting suicide. You understand? So in situations like this, we have a lot of such situations happening in our community where the victims are quiet and they are afraid to talk about it because of the stigma, because of how they'll be labeled in society. So they don't talk about it. But then if we offer them help, we pay attention, give a listening ear, and go the extra mile to help them, I think that it will go a long way to curb the rate at which suicide is happening in our community.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with me on FCC Health Station. I want to find out, are there some numbers we can call if I notice that somebody is trying to attempt suicide, if I notice that somebody is thinking of committing suicide, or if someone watching us right now is in that situation and is contemplating suicide, what are some of the numbers they can call? Who are some of the people they can talk to? So can you help us with some places we can go to, some people we can call, some numbers that we can call?
Okay, so currently in Ghana, we have suicide hotlines.
Okay.
2 of them. We'll
Okay.
put them, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll make the numbers available.
Make the numbers available on the screen. And these numbers, you call them
and you will talk to a professional.
Okay.
Who will lead you through a counseling session, and then for the means something to help you in the immediate
moment, so that later on they will direct you to where you can go to seek the appropriate kind of help.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to find out, if I call, is it confidential? Is my information private? Or for fear of for fear of, let's say I'm a celebrity, I'm contemplating suicide. I don't want anybody to hear that this person tried to commit suicide. People are fishing for information, so such people might not want to talk. Yeah. So how safe is it, I should say, to call these numbers, go to these places, and then know that you won't be pushed further to commit suicide because the news will be out that this person is trying to commit suicide.
Yeah, it's very safe because the people that are handling these issues are professionals. Okay. And as part of our ethics, ethical code, we are supposed to keep every information the patient gives you as private and confidential. Okay. Until the patient tells you, okay, you can tell my mother, You can tell my husband, you can tell my boyfriend, you can tell my sister, you can tell my parents. You are not, yes, you are not allowed to disclose the information.
Sorry.
But then again, if the situation is such that the person has become harmful to himself or herself and people around him, then we would have to talk to the patient or whoever is involved to understand that there's a need for family support. There's a need that you get support and encourage the person to open up to parents or to relatives, close relatives that can help. Okay. So your information is very safe. And one place that you can easily go to for help is just walk to any psychiatric hospital in this country. We have one at Cape Coast, and we have at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital at Asalam Down, and we have one on the Medina or Yarifa Road, that is the Pantang Hospital. You can walk to any psychiatric hospital and say that you are having suicidal ideations, and so you need help. And anyone that you meet there, any professional you meet there, nurse, doctor, can help you out.
Okay, doctor.
Yes, I would like to add, because of the stigma surrounding mental health illness and also suicide and the tag that people are afraid of being tagged as mentally ill because they have suicidal ideations. There are provisions for you to seek help anonymously, if that is your wish. Okay. You can talk over the phone. So when you call the numbers, you can talk to someone and say that maybe you need a doctor or you need a psychologist or somebody to talk to over the phone, maybe for reasons best known that you may not want to disclose. Okay. You don't want to physically come to the premises. An arrangement can be made for a doctor or a health professional to come to you.
Okay.
So that you in the comfort, in the privacy of your home.
I don't want to be seen.
I don't want to be seen across psychiatric hospital.
Yeah,
or I don't want to be seen around Pantang.
People easily tag me.
To tag me that I'm mentally ill. So there is that provision to have that private consultation in your home.
Great.
That is provided by these health facilities. So that option is also available.
Yeah. We are going to take the final words from our guests. So we'll start with Ms. Efue.
Life is precious. Life is good. I don't think that on a normal day, anyone should think of taking his or her own life when God and his wisdom has given you life. But then if we are faced with a situation where you want to take your life because life is hard, you think that you cannot cope with the situation that you are going through, I indulge you to talk about it. Find somebody you trust. If you don't have anyone you trust, you see the numbers on the screen. Just call any of them. Like my colleague said, you can come as an anonymous person and call. You will definitely get help. It's a painful thing to die out of something that you could have easily gotten help and then gone on with your life, gotten married, have a beautiful family and all that. You'll be surprised. Somebody's actually looking up to you. Just live. Ask for help. Seek for help. Because help is available.
Help is indeed available.
Help is available.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Help is available. So don't be afraid to speak up and speak out. If you are having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations, find someone you trust and speak to the person about it, talk about it. Don't think that you will be labeled. Don't think that you will be an outcast. You will not be an outcast. Rather, it is better for you to talk about it and get help, because help is available. And to the family and the loved ones of people who are having suicidal thoughts or who have attempted suicide, I think as a society we need to move on with the rest of the world and leave this kind of mentality that
issues of mental health need to be not to be talked about, or this kind of labeling of people with mental illness, the stigmatization needs to stop, because it discourages people who need help from accessing the help. And I don't think that we need, in this day and in this age, people should be deterred, or people should still feel embarrassed to talk about mental health issues. We need to speak up. We need to be more supportive of our brothers and sisters, and lend a helping hand to people who are in need of our help. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us in the studios today. We are very grateful for making time to talk to us about suicide prevention. Thank you all for tuning in to watch FCC Health Station with me, Efia Knedu. At Feisty Chapel, we believe that where others die, we live. Where others fall, we stand. Where others fail, we succeed. Where others are weak, we are strong. You are not alone. Help is available. Know that suicide is never an option. We are still in a season of goodness and mercy here at Feisty Chapel. So goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life. You are blessed. Remember to share this video with your family, your friends, so that they can know about this great information that we just shared with you. Thank you so much. Like the page, subscribe, and you will be blessed. Thank you so much. We'll come your way again next time. God bless.
Your greatest wealth is your health. It's FCC Health Station, right here on Fire City TV. Naturally supernatural. Fire City TV, naturally supernatural.